This is Tony, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue right after this song. What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, episode number 34. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, dude?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. What is it? It's today's Wednesday?
It is. As of right now, it
Wednesday.
is anyway. This will come out Thursday, but yes, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday. Just it's 48 degrees here, so that's definitely a plus. That means it's starting to heat up a little bit, and it's raining and a little dark out. But it's anything besides the cold is good. I heard Florida's beautiful this week.
It's supposed to. It said it was getting up almost to the 80s today, which is I'm not really excited, man. I've kind of been digging the cool weather. I mean, in the morning it's cold, cooler. So, I like that because, when you get up in the morning and you go outside and you fucking come back in 5 minutes later and you already got swamp
Soaked.
ass, dude, it's fucking bullshit. So, yeah, I've been digging it. But I guess 80 is still not 95, so I'll take it. That means I'll be wearing shorts later.
Yeah, before you know it'll be hurricane season. That's always fun,
Oh, great!
They're jacking our insurance up, and you're
I'm already there.
your boy's slamming cars. I mean, you got the whole 9 yards going on.
My daughter turns 18 on Friday, so that's
mine turns 5.
Yeah,
18,
so that's
dude.
Last one, bro. It's this one's a little different. You know what I mean? You got 2 boys. You're like, When Tristan turned 18, I was like, I still got 2 youngins.
Get the fuck out of here.
Then, Bryce turned 18, and I was like, oh, shit. Now, this is a little different. This one hits a little hard. Plus, it's my little girl, so it's a little...
I heard you guys talking the other day. I think I told you, because I remember your kids when they were in the rehearsal room with us all the time when they were little. I mean, they were just...
She had her little earmuffs on and shit.
Yeah,
so to blow out her ears. And now look at her.
I remember that, and I hear you guys talking, having these adult conversations, and it just makes me realize how fast the time goes. I'm looking at my kids, I'm like, holy shit, man. Even every time I see a photo of my kids, I'm like, they're just getting bigger and bigger. So it goes fast.
Yeah, man. The other day I was just sitting there going, holy fuck, she's going to be 18. Because, she graduates, she's fucking high honors, got like a 4.8 GPA. So she's going into nursing, and I realized that she's going to be doing her thing, and sucks. You know what I mean? They were under your wing for so long, and you don't realize how fast they just move on.
But it's going to be a little easier for you now when you have to do stuff like if you have to do some, road trips, you got to do some touring or whatever. Now, at least, I mean, when they're little, like I've talked to you recently about this, like certain times, like we've been offered some shows or something, and it's hard to like think about leaving my kids for a few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the thing for me was because my wife works at a school, so she has to be there so early. So getting my daughter and son, when he wasn't driving to school, that was the issue. Now my daughter drives. She's been driving most of the school year. So, it's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? She's old enough to take care of herself and drive herself to work and to school and all over creation. And I'm just thinking, fuck, because she always says, why are you so worried? And I'm like, you know what? I mean, they just have no clue of the fucking scumbags that are out there lurking. I told you about the deal at Chipotle when the guy came in and was asking her, creeping, asking her fucking what kind of car she has and all this shit. And I was thinking, man, I'm 10 minutes away. The guy sat there staring at her, and I'm thinking, just call me. We'll see how that guy wants to stare once I get my fucking ass in there.
Yeah, my daughter's already taking karate lessons. She's in her school. They're offering this to her, so she's doing that. So I mean, it's a little.
Well, she's got mace, and she's got the fucking taser, and she's got these. Bryce brought her this fucking thing the lady gave her at the gun show the other day that looked like brass knuckles, but it's got these 2 giant horns that if somebody comes up, if you stick it in their side, it'll fucking pierce you. So I mean,
you guys are ready for the Red Dawn attack,
dude. She walks out at Chipotle at night, and she walks out in the back door to her car. She's got to be ready, just it's a weird time we're at, man. But
everything is crazy, as everybody knows who watches any kind of news, which I try to always avoid that. But the world is insane. But that we actually, whoever's wondering, we actually opened up the show with the track "Taste of Death" from Generichrist, which was me and Ed's band. That went on for a long time, and it's not over, but we're just not been pretty dormant right now. But that was from was it 2015, which is crazy that's been that long since we've done that record.
I remember when we recorded that record. That was a great fucking record, man.
It was rough times in the band, though. It was definitely,
not so much at that time. At that time, we were pretty.
Some of us were. There was a lot of division, I think, in a lot of ways, or a lot of me and the guitar player. There was no secret that we didn't really get along during that time period too well. And
well, we actually recorded Taste of Death and House of Ill Repute
at the
in
same
the
time.
same time frame within what 6 months of each other. We just
But
had so
different
much.
studios, though, if you remember, because we moved
No,
at Red Room. Studios moved like twice during that recording process.
well, yeah, the one used to be by my house off of
Yeah.
Central, and then they moved to Ybor. But for the most part, we did everything. Like a lot of those songs crossed uh, paths. Because remember, some of them should have made Taste of Death, but we put them on House instead, and
Yeah, because
we did a
House came
bunch of
out in Asia, if you remember. So like what we
right.
did, and that's why recently, actually this 2023, we had it re-released together. So it came out and it had that track "Over My Dead Fucking Corpse" from the old the demos on there, but it was
Right.
both of those CDs, both of those records put together, and that was called we titled it "Death Swarms." Planet of the Damned, and that came out on a Brazilian label. I don't want to fuck up the name of it, but Ciesco Discos. So I don't. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But that got released through them, which I still have some copies of left. If
Yeah,
anybody's
thanks. Can
interested,
I
hit
have
us
one?
up.
Because I don't have
Yeah,
it.
you've never seen it, have you? It's pretty
No, I
nice.
have not.
I actually have
Thanks.
a
I
copy
appreciate
sitting
that.
here. What's
I'm
funny
actually
is on Halloween, we had to do a big thing at our house on Halloween. We had a bunch of kids. We're like the Lithuanian Halloween house. This is where hundreds of kids come here on that night here, which is it's Halloween is not a Lithuanian holiday, but it's getting bigger every year. You can see it in the stores from the decorations to like it's definitely happening here. And our house is pretty damn popular. And there was a couple kids that came into like we do it out of the garage/studio. We open it up here and Ed knows it's pretty much like heavy metal posters or rock posters and a bunch of
horror.
horror Halloween decor hanging.
Nope.
So we had some kids who are music kids, into metal and rock and all that stuff. And I wound up giving them a few of the digipacks, which Ed has not seen yet, actually on
Awesome. That's
Halloween.
fucking great.
And what was funny is like I remember like after giving it to them, I remember the lyric sheets, the lyrics were inside the records, and I felt kind of like, oh man, I'm sure they're gonna if their parents open up these kids were probably like 15 or not. I'm not giving it to like 3-year-olds or anything. These were kids who started talking to me and being like, oh, asking about the band and stuff like that. But I did give away a few of those on Halloween, so that was kind of I even
Yeah, but
gave away a vinyl, dude. I even gave away a Insomniac Death Parade vinyl to some girl who was like, she might have been like 14 or 15. She was really nice. She kept on asking about the band, and I still have a box of them. So I was like, take one. So that's what I gave away on Halloween, plus a shitload of candy.
great. So when you send me my tapestry, you can throw all that shit in the box too.
Yeah, exactly. In your fucking Rangers jersey. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that was Taste of Death though. And that record we did with at Red Room Studios with Mark Prater, who Ed just got done working with actually on the Monstrosity record. Yeah, that was a process. I remember the one thing I never forget is when they relocated the Red Room to Ybor City, where we finished that record at. I think it was awesome, but it probably was a disservice in a way. There was also, if you remember, a bar connected right to the studio, right through the back. What was it? Do you remember the name of that place?
New World Brewery.
New World Brewery. So it was connected right to Red Room Studios. So, during the recording sessions, you'd wind up, even Ed was having some beers once in a while, and that's fucking rare.
Right.
Like I remember there was a few sessions that were everyone was drinking a little too much, probably. I remember Joe. He goes, we had some wasted times from that bar. It was all because of that bar next door, because
Yeah, but we
everyone
got
was going there.
we one thing's for sure, especially with Prater, we always got shit done like in a hurry. Meaning
Yeah,
he was good to work with, so he made the process easy. So we were able to get in and out like like working vocals because a lot of times you didn't have everything ironed out. We were words and he made it such a seamless process for us to be able to get in.
it's a comfort
Nail,
level, like you were saying when
yes,
you just worked with him just now. It's like
yeah,
I think it's
and
about
that's
Prater in
no,
the room.
yeah, I don't want that to be a slag against like me working with Jim Morris because dude, Jim Morris was fucking that was a bucket list item for me for sure. It's just Jim wasn't available, and thank whatever that Mark was the guy that could fill in because I have a rapport with him. So doing these songs, he could get, he's like Jim. Nope, I heard this, I heard that. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Because I push a lot, and it's no secret that we got guys spread all over the map from Monstrosity, so we don't practice. Unless we got tours or something coming up, we get a couple in, but we're pros. But one people don't realize, and because you're a vocalist, screaming at a fucking at a computer screen or screaming in a room to something playing behind you at ungodly volumes is not the same as screaming in a room playing to a band. It just doesn't,
Totally
it's not the
different.
same, dude. And I could scream as much as I want. It just doesn't, it's very hard to, you don't get into the shape you need to get in because you're just screaming. You don't know your volume because when you're in a band room, you know how to sing with the music. Otherwise, you're just singing with a fucking song, an MP3 on a thing, and it just sucks. So,
We talked
getting
about
in,
that with Dave, didn't we, from Mortiscold?
we
He was
did.
saying that when they went in the studio the first time, it was, which I mean, I could totally relate to. It's odd when you're like, you're used to jamming in that's rehearsal space wherever it may be with that but then when you're actually by yourself in a room doing it, it's totally different vibe. It's a totally different
Yeah.
energy.
Well, when I get in the vocal booth, especially at Morrisound, I could see, like remember back when we did the one when Red Room moved to Brandon. Remember it was in the garage, that little garage,
Yes,
so you
exactly.
can't see shit. And then even at the Red Room in Ebor, we couldn't see the control room. Remember, we went through that door, and you were kind of in just a room with a window,
Yeah,
but you couldn't really see nothing. But when I could see Mark and Lee, and they're giving me hand gestures like when to come in, because you can't always tell when you listen to songs with, Lee gives me songs with his vocals, like we call them
like a
whisper
mock tape,
vocals,
right?
whisper vocals. So I get the patterns, and there's leads and there's stuff on there. And then when I go to do the song, some of the songs don't have the leads on them. And I'm hearing the come in from the leads. So it's good to have somebody I can see to give me boom, go, boom, go.
Yeah,
So
Prater was
otherwise
great at that.
you're taking 500 takes because you keep missing the spot. And yeah, it's definitely, when you have somebody you can count on, it's great. And I think all three of those fucking records came out fucking awesome.
Do you remember
I
like
didn't.
at the Red Room and the one in Ybor? We obviously we had the Scientologist church across the street, which was always kind of odd. They would kind of follow you around, maybe, or you could. It was directly across the street from the studio too, because the
Oh yeah.
brewery was right there, and directly was this gigantic
Remember
Scientology
they used to
building.
stand outside trying to give pamphlets and shit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, fuck
totally crazy.
that. Get out of here.
But we
Getting
also had Bill
comfortable.
Mosley on that record, which was awesome. You know, I think that was that the I can't. It's sad that I can't remember. I think that was the first record I actually worked with Bill, and and the way that happened actually, which Ed knows this story, but so Bill, I would go to these conventions, these horror conventions and stuff, and eventually met Bill and asked him about being on the record, and I still have the piece of paper he gave me with his email on it, and flew out to Hollywood or LA like probably a couple months later, and I actually did it twice. I actually worked with him out there, and it was awesome. We were in Travis Dickerson's studio, which was the same studio that Buckethead worked out of, which was pretty wild. Bill was great, and he was definitely a cool guy, and I would
I
like
want
to.
to get him on here so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would
Andy.
love to. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's definitely a possibility. I'm sure I need to work on that. And actually, speaking about guests, I can announce I talked to him today to tell in the next couple weeks here, we have Snowy Shaw coming on from, Notre Dame, King Diamond, Merciful Fate, his own projects,
Carry on.
Therion. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. And definitely looking forward to that. I think he's a very interesting guy. And Snowy
Very
Shaw will be on
talented.
here.
Very
Yeah,
fucking talented, man.
taught himself how to, the thing with him is he was like a lot of other guys you read about or hear about. He was a dude who played drums. Actually, he plays everything. He plays every instrument. But how to become a singer out of like didn't know what else to do for that spot in one of his bands. I think it was like basically he was like, hey, I need a vocalist. I'm gonna do this myself, and fronting Therion is no easy task. I mean, and just he's done so much shit. And I've talked to Snowy the last few days. He's definitely coming on, and he told me today that I can let everybody know that he'll be on. So yeah, Snowy Shaw, which is really damn exciting to me. And we also have another guest I'm not going to announce, but Ed knows, which will be if he's definitely coming on this month. Also, we're just trying to figure out the exact date, but one that me and Ed are going to really like to talk to because it's a guy that anybody into death metal is probably a fan of or has been a fan of. He's definitely would
And
be
a
on
nice
my Mount
and
Rushmore
a
in my opinion.
yeah, and a really down to earth, nice dude to boot. So it makes it
Yeah,
even just like talking to Kyle. It's just one of those things that when you talk to somebody and they're cool, Like they're not fucking ego ridden, even though all the shit they've done. It's really cool. So
Yeah. And you're right. And the thing, like you talk about Kyle was great. And, the person we're talking about, which we will eventually probably announce in the next week or two. Even when I talked to him, I said to him, and I explained this to you, Ed, too. I was like, because I've known this guy for a long time. Ed's known him. And I said, I go, you don't have to, don't feel bad. Like if you don't want to come on the show, I totally get it. That's why I'm asking you instead of like trying to book you through your. And he was like, no problem. So that was cool. I didn't want to put him in that spot where like maybe but he was totally down. So it's
where he
definitely
felt
gonna
like
be.
he was obligated to do it.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, tell me to
absolutely.
fuck off if you want, man. It's totally cool. He's like, no, not at all. I'll definitely come on. So that one I'm definitely excited to announce. I just want to wait till the date's definitely locked, but I believe it is. So we already have a date in the calendar. We're just trying to make sure everything works out right. But Snowy Shaw will be on in the next week or two, and I'll keep everyone posted on the Instagram and through this show. Like tonight's show is kind of like we just decided to hop on for like an hour or so tonight and play some songs with bands we're involved with or musicians that we're involved with in other projects because the last couple episodes we did, we were like, we did the Nonslaughter episode on the February 6th. We did More to Scold on the 17th and Kyle from X Order on the 20th. So we've been kind of having guests. So when we have guests, it's hard for us to kind of like just do a chill episode because both of us do have a lot of shit going on the outside. And,
Well, and
you
we've
know,
had people, tell us why don't we ever talk about our bands, what we've
yes.
done and
So
stuff,
tonight we'll
and
mention those.
so especially Generichrist, man. I'm you know I don't I may play in whatever bands and have played in bands, but to me, that's one of my favorite things I've done. Um,
It's awesome to
and
hear that.
it is, and I've told you that's why I do everything in my power to try to I want to get it back together while you're gone so that when you come back, we can do a show, two shows. We always get on the cool shit because we know Pete and we know a bunch of guys that do shows, and we're friends with a lot of people who would put us on a show in a second. So to me, that's huge. A lot of bands don't have that and that respect, because that's a respect. It's not a we have to put you on something.
No, we worked
People
our
are
asses
calling
off
us.
for like almost 20
Well,
fucking years.
I
Yeah.
mean, how many times have you been messaged by somebody saying, "Hey, you guys going to be around because we got a big show coming and we want you guys to play," and it's like, yeah, not going to happen. So
It's hard, especially with Generic Christ. Obviously, it's it hasn't been with the last show we played was 2016. We did put out that
18,
record. Was it 18? Okay, so that makes me
18,
feel a little bit better.
obituary.
Okay, and Dust Bowl and I think Paul Bear was on that in Orlando at the Haven, which is now the Conduit. But
Yep.
I swear I knew that night when we were playing. I forget what song it was, but I remember being like, yeah, I'm like, I knew I was getting married. I knew I was leaving the country for a while. Just kind of knew. It was a weird feeling. I knew that was probably it for some period of time. And it was probably the best at that time period because I have I don't care whatever.
Well,
But that band was getting a
in
little rough at that
fairness,
time period. Everyone
in
was ready,
fairness,
wild
we
up.
did have a show lined up after you came back, and
Fell
it
through.
fell through because fucking people are just
It's hard to do
fucking.
a band, man. At the end of the
It's
day, it's
not hard to
hard.
do a band when people are fucking don't stand up for their obligations, man. It kind of fucking sucks, and that's
Yeah, it
where
was a pain in the
it gives you a
ass.
bad taste. It gives you a bad it gives you a bad taste in your mouth,
Yeah.
man. I mean, it does. It's like it's not hard to say I want to play in this band and whatever. We know we don't make money. You know what I mean? But it's
Money.
like we're also not fucking playing 10 practicing 5 days a week, and it's not that hard of an obligation. And the shows we've gotten to play, the
It
Florida
was
Metal Fest and all these big shows, that that's to me that's a badge. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I played that fucking show. Hey, I played that show. I played that
yeah.
show.
I
So
remember the days when Generic Christ used to practice 5 days a week, and it got to the point where we were together so long that I think it couldn't have went like that because I think everyone would have just like a lot of every band story is the same at the end of the day. Like
murder.
yeah, it was like if you would have been together for 5 days, like 10 years in, I think it would have been a couple Royal Rumbles going on. But that was Generic Christ. I mean, it got better as the years went on. There's a lot of earlier stuff I didn't really always dig, and there was a lot of but I mean, yeah, I don't know how to say it. Like that was a band that probably was the band that meant the most to me because I knew right away when that band got formed. I was like, I was in this other band, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in anybody's fucking band anymore. I just want to be in my own band and like see what happens. And then did a bunch of shit, lasted a long time, man. Played some cool places, and who knows what the future holds. But you talk about, you're talking about responsibilities and stuff with bands, and that's the difference between one thing I will say about this band Doomsilla that Ed, you're involved in too, and it's a strange monster because in a way this is a band where I have no doubt that like I can fly into somewhere and it'll probably be ready in like a couple days. Like all these guys are such pros. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, playing
I
with Jim
agree.
Ross, which we talked about, which we're going to play at one of his Bandwhore tracks eventually tonight too. Playing with guys like that, it's definitely like, or definitely Derek Roddy, which I mean, basically, in my opinion, breathed life back into the lungs of that band because after we did Join the Cult, I didn't know what we were going to do after that, to be honest. Like, I was like, I think me and Jim had talked about doing more music. We tossed around some songs, but didn't really think anything was going to come of it. But then we got involved and Derek got involved and, we just put out a record called "The Gift of Eternal Sleep." We put it out on basically Starved Artist Records, which is Jim Ross's what he puts things under because we don't have a label we're dealing with right now. We're just dealing with ourselves, and anybody can find that on Spotify and all this. But it's Mike Pagioni, me, Derek Roddy, Jim Ross, and then Ed Webb is actually on a couple different things, which we'll talk about eventually coming up. There's another recording we did that we haven't released yet. But it's the thing with that band is I will say with Doomsilla, playing with these guys is awesome. We've already actually started writing new stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, which is crazy because if you would have asked me a couple years ago, Ed knows, like I would just think Doomsilla it's pretty much just a one-time deal, but we're still rolling, man. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm actually going to play a tune from the new Doomsilla record. And this is the new Doomsilla record, like I said, came out probably a couple weeks ago. I actually don't know the exact date, but it came out a few weeks ago. It's called The Gift of Eternal Sleep. The tune we're going to play is Angels Draped in Black. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue right after this.
watched your Sunday best. They will mourn. You begin to decay. The angels stripped in black have come to show you the way. Take Destined, walk into the fog. Cross by the rivers of sinners' blood. Closer and closer lay my tormented screams. Lift on me, bomb in the brains. Paralyzing flashes in your mind. Break through into the tragedies in your life. 25 years old and 25 difference. Never another sunrise. There will be no mercy from God. Where is the salvation? Tower of your death. No one face is familiar. Down in this fiery pit. Confinedly is your body by the vermin of hell. The disease spreads so quickly. The flowers of your grave will dash shadows left behind you. As the darkness slowly glides all the souls will rot. Burning on the deniers, melting with the believers, splattered on the walls, beyond pure evil. Impaled as a reminder, loves to sway like flags. My soul left the same, everything's fucking dead. Clouds of poison rise, sworn in the raging fires. Swarm by Satan's claws, the kingdom of the liar. The cause eternal suffering, redness of the pain. The sentence behind, run your death pain. Avoid the blood on your hands. Punishment for unholy desires. Endless days of burning flesh, dying in the most sadistic ways. Again and again and again and again.
we go. That was Doomsilla. The band with me, Jim Ross, Derek Roddy, Mike Pagioni, and Ed Webb's on a lot of the stuff. I mean, basically, the other we kind of have two bass players right now in that band rolling on the latest releases. And Jim and Ed might be picking up some more responsibilities once in a while in that band, if who knows. But yeah, so that is Doomsilla, and Ed, I mean, you've toured with Derek and stuff like that. I mean, you've just you would think. I mean, if you would have asked me before I actually dealt with Derek, I really only knew him from one of your gigs. Actually, I think you played with Diabolic at the State Theater with Hate Eternal.
Yep.
I knew him from like crossing at shows. You would run to each other or something like that a little bit. But man, the guy is such a chill dude and just wants to play music. And I never see anything. He's pretty much like gun
The
ho.
consummate professional. That's what they
Yeah.
call that guy. The consummate professional. I mean, he's fucking playing with Anthrax, so
That's crazy, isn't it? That's
I mean,
you
hey,
actually,
good,
yeah.
good for him.
Anthrax when and obviously you were over in Tampa for that show. You saw what Pantera like what was it? 2
A couple
months
weeks
ago
ago.
now? A couple
No, a
weeks
couple
ago.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, and it was packed, right? I mean, I know everyone's like, I'm
I
not going
didn't
to
see
go.
it.
I'm not gonna.
I didn't see a fucking empty seat where I was sitting, but I mean, and dude, I don't care, fucking, yeah, we all know the brothers are gone. I get it. But there's bands that are out there touring like Napalm Death with no original members or one, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. You'll go see that shit, but you're going to bitch about this. Listen, Zach was a good friend of Dimebag. Um, so he's doing him justice. He's playing the songs like Zach. He's not trying to copy Dimebag, but it's heavy as fuck. I mean, I literally said, I've been to a lot of shows dude, a lot of fucking shows, especially arena shows. We saw Metallica with Gojira and Lamb of God. And while, yeah, did it sound good? Yeah, but usually arena shows, the sound bounces all over the fucking place. And it sounds like whoever their sound guy is should be paid double because they were so fucking heavy, like heavy, 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 that I was like, holy shit, man, this is on another level. Even Lamb of God was heavy as fuck. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good show. I saw Pantera 8, 9 times over the years, like from the early inception till the last show they played as a band.
How did Phil sound?
Sounded good. I mean, there were a couple songs where he sings, where he talks and sings, and you could tell his vocal registry is a little lower, but he pulled it off. Now, they didn't do Cemetery Gates because there's no way he could hit those screams anymore.
Yeah.
But Cowboys from Hell was killer. I mean, he was good, man. He compared to where he was a couple years ago when he sounded shot, like completely fucking gone. Like his voice, like I heard him doing Pantera covers with Scour or Phil and the, what are they, Illegals? Is that what he called themselves?
Phil Ensemble and Illegals, yes.
Yeah. So, and he would do those covers, and I was like, this dude's fucking shot, man. I mean, no disrespect, but his voice was just, because he had been trying to do the Scour stuff, which is death metal. And dude, I'm a prime example, dude. I used to be able to hit those fucking Tom Araya screams and those King Diamond highs, dude. And then I started doing death metal, and it kills you, man. Especially years and years and years. And plus, he smoked and fucking drugs and all that shit takes a toll on you,
lifestyle,
man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
man. But he sounded fucking, let's just say when I left, I was like, wow. That's all I can say is I was like,
know he
wow.
got in shape for all this stuff. It was funny when there was during the interview we just did with Kyle, I thought it was really something you just never hear about. And I don't know if anybody hasn't heard the interview with Kyle from Exorder. It was a lot of good stuff for a short period of time.
Yeah, go check it out because we don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, but I will say though, the fact that Phil was actually basically in Exorder for one day, flew down to Louisiana, tried out. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You always hear the links, but I don't never hear that talked about. Do you? I mean, Kyle confirmed it, but I think it's pretty
Just the
wild.
rumors, just the backdoor rumors,
Yeah, but that's if you think about that, like how much, and I've actually heard this said before too. Like that could have changed a lot of things. I mean, in a lot of ways, who knows what those bands would have been like with the opposites. It's interesting, but I thought that was very that was cool for when we talked to Kyle about that. You mentioned Tom, obviously, Raya. You know, you think about with Slayer reuniting, which another one that people can complain about it, but I guarantee you those shows will be packed. You know, and I'm sure Tom he might have got bored. I mean, you know, I always heard this about like athletes. They spend all their time on the road, then they go home, and then they kind of sit around and be like, okay, like you kind of lose that excitement. So maybe, you know, that had something to do with it. But they're going to pack places. I'm sure they're going to do all the festivals. I think they only have 2 shows announced now. But I've seen people, you know, oh, this and that and this and that. It's like this is just the way the world is now. If you think, you know, a band to go away now, they usually come back. I mean, we talk about the Crew, Motley Crue, bands like that. But Slayer, I was kind of surprised about because I think you were even surprised, Ed, when I was like, hey, man, did you hear that Slayer's doing
I was in the
reunion?
booth. I was in the vocal booth, and
Yeah, you were at
I went.
Morristown when I told you
I
basically. And
was.
it's
I was
like,
in I was actually in the vocal booth, and we were in between whatever we were doing, and I actually we were getting ready to start a song, like a new song, and I was just waiting on Mark to get set up, and then I looked on my watch, and then I was like, what? And I picked up my phone, and I went, what the fuck? And Lee's like, what? And I go, dude, Slayer's back together, and he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, Tony just messaged me.
breaking
Slayer,
news on the Tampa Morgue back
yeah,
on
dude,
the phone that
Slayer's
day.
fucking back together, and I was like, holy shit, dude, what the fuck? Because considering Kerry was just slinging mud at Tom
But
on
maybe that had
Blabbermouth.
something to do with maybe not even that, but maybe when they start seeing the formation of another band, everyone's like, well, you know,
Well, but
maybe
if you
we need to.
remember, he went on there and said, I haven't talked to Tom since the last show.
Yeah,
So how do you get Slayer back together when you haven't even talked to the guy? It's all bullshit. Just like Tom hasn't played bass on a Slayer record since 1990. Dude, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
I heard
Seriously,
that. Yeah, I
why
saw
would you
that.
put that? Why would you? I mean, come on, dude. What the fuck? And then his wife, of course, Carrie's wife chiming in all over the place. And I'm like, uh, note to self, keep your fucking women out of your shit because they're the ones that stir the pot and fuck shit up. How do I
Yeah.
know? Because I know.
Well, it's interesting. I think that, and for the opposite for Tom, actually, I think that his family is. I don't know if it was his wife, but they're actually like saying, "Hey, this is what the guy wants to do." And I mean, you know, it's. I don't know. I just think in this day and
Listen, the
age,
guy,
I expect
Carrie
anybody
has
to
no
come back.
kids. Carrie
Yeah,
has no kids. Tom missed his fucking kids growing up.
yeah, and that makes sense. I mean,
And dude, as somebody who has fucking kids, figure it out. You know,
yeah. I
you
mean,
want to
I
go into the grave with your fucking, having the last of your name and your kind. Hey, good on you, man. But I have no regrets, dude, because as you know, I've been offered gigs over the years, uh, big gigs, but I would have to relocate, and I wasn't in a position to want to do that. And you
yeah,
know the one I'm talking about right
yeah,
after Diabolic, right after I left the band. You remember that one I got,
yeah. Well,
and
that's the hardest thing. I mean, you know, even for me, as you like come moving overseas, it was like I've done bands my whole life, and now I still record. I put like this little studio in my home now, but like it's not the same as getting together and jamming. And we talk about that, like you know,
yeah,
I
no,
mean, but you got to make a choice. And for me, as you were saying, like I played for a long time. I still make music, but you know, my kids are my, you know, they are pretty much what is the important thing right now. So
absolutely
you know, it goes like that. And I know you've been playing in bands forever, Ed, and actually we're going to play one of the bands that you played in.
fantastic. I can't
Yes,
wait
we're
to
gonna
hear this.
play. You know, it's not the Hot Topic band, but we're gonna play.
Thank God, man. I don't want to put my braids
Name.
back in and wear my contacts again. I don't want to do
Yes,
that.
exactly.
That was a stupid period of my life.
But they, you know, Ed's been playing forever. I used to book Ed's bands back 2000, right? It was 2003 was Venom Open and stuff like that, and you know, I mean. And this band, Ed, I'll let you introduce the song and you explain the bands and all that good stuff. But this is DTR, right? Destined to Ruin. You're going to play.
Yep, yep. This is a band I formed. Um, Me and the drummer Angelo, actually everybody in the band at one point played in this band called Contorted. Um, and I did a couple of CDs with them, and in the end, me and Angelo was the drummer, I was the bass player singer, and there was just I don't know how things go, but the guitar player had it in his mind he wanted to keep this new guitar player we had. I didn't think it was right. He just wasn't playing the songs right, and there were just a lot of things that were going on in that particular time. Um, And he also talked about getting the original drummer back, which, you know, here Angelo's been playing. And to me, I was like, that's a kick in the face. I don't, that's not how I roll. So we split. Me and him talked, we were going to make our own band. And of course, I play guitar ish. You know, I can play guitar. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't like to play guitar. When we started that band Contorted, we started it out of Brutality. Brutality split up. Me, Jim, and Pete took off. We made a band called Contorted, took the songs we had written for Brutality, put them out, and played a shit ton of shows over the years. We played many shows at Venom that you booked. And basically, you know, it was a killer band. It just, you know, things
Very
fall apart.
a very underrated band. I always felt like, and a lot
Yeah,
of people in
Contorted
the
was
area felt
definitely,
like that.
we definitely had our own sound. We didn't try to sound like anybody. We didn't, coming out of Brutality, we didn't sound like Brutality at all, not even close. But, you know, when things go awry, I had a vision that I wanted to write songs a certain way. So me and Angelo, we split. Originally, I was playing guitar and singing in the band, and then we got Damien he played in Contorted. He actually recorded that record with us. And then guy who played in Generichrist too, Dave, also was in Contorted. So we wound up getting basically all of Contorted back together, and we called it Destined to Ruin. And we played a lot of good fucking shows, man. A lot of good shows. It was a heavy band. Definitely unique, very harmony oriented, heavy. I mean, it was just, I don't know how to describe it, because, you know, it's my shit, so I don't like to super sell anything I do, because, you know, I hate a lot of
Very
stuff I do.
like I said again, I remember there was a few of us, and even at that time we were working on with the magazine and stuff. I know Contorted, you guys were on the cover on Contorted of
We
the Red
were.
Rag.
We
You
were.
guys were on the cover of that. That's one thing, you know, with that magazine, there was a lot of locals on there. You had Dark Faith was on there, who now, you know, Pete Olin was the cover photo.
Paths of Possession,
Passive
the
Possession.
original Passive Possession with Randy before Corpse Grinder.
I remember, so Nick Goodyear and them, and
Yep.
I
Richard
remember
Brunel.
Jack.
Richard Brunel was in the original Passive Possession with Aaron on drums, Aaron Fuller.
I remember when we actually shot the photo for that album cover. I believe it was at the Masquerade or the Ritz, whatever it was at that time. Then that was the Passive Possession one. We had, like you said, we had Contorted on there. It was a lot of the scene. So it was kind of a cool thing, you know. But Destined to Ruin, the last time I saw you guys play, I think was at the Crowbar, I want to say.
With Possessed, yeah. And then we did one show after that where we came back, and it was with Angelo and Dave and Damien, and we played the Mug, and it was with Damien, some fucking band that Damien swore was going to be a great show, and it fucking turd. It was a turd burglar, dude, and I just realized that, you know, the scene, as you
up
know,
and down.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's if you're not in the
clique,
the Kiss Ass Club, you don't get to play. So
it always changes there. I mean, I always thought Miami had a killer scene when we were there, but that also, from when I was talking to Alvar when we had him on, from the Caveman Cult and Reaper Mancer and all that stuff, it goes through periods of time, and I think Miami was really booming at one time, and then Tampa, obviously, well, the historic years definitely, and then there was a couple other times. We even know with Generichrist, it was definitely a decent time period for a lot of bands were coming out, and then it always goes in waves, you know. But and I remember you guys put out it was the Dark Rising, right? Demo you guys put out.
Yes. Yep.
And that was what, 2000, 2009.
Okay, if you say so.
2009.
It was like 2000. I want to say somewhere between 2008 and 2009. I think is when we were rolling.
Yes. So that was lineup, like you said, was you, Damien, Heftel, Dave Sawyer, and Angelo Duca. Yeah. Yep. So that. And so you're actually going to play a song for us off of that, which is...
Yep. This is called The Haunting. This is actually a song I wrote about. Angelo used to live in Newport Richey or Hudson, one of those two areas out there. And dude, he would tell us stories and have pictures showing how shit moved in his house. And he lived alone. and he would show me how like he'd come out and fucking cabinet doors were open. There would be fucking, he would he had a picture of a shadow behind a wall and there's nobody there. I mean, dude, I get goosebumps talking about it because the shit he fucking said was like spooky as fuck. And he had like receipts. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Just the shit. So I was like, I'm like, dude, you got to get the fuck out of there, dude. Cause he said he would feel shit when he was sleeping. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. So I wrote, and a lot of the words he used, I would write them down, and then I kind of turned them into the song called "The Haunting." And yeah, so it's DTR. The Haunting is the tune.
There you go, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this song.
Yeah.
go. That was The Haunting from Destined to Ruin from 2009. I did verify that too, Ed, by the way.
Okay.
The Dark Rising demo, members, what was Damien Heftel from Nocturnus AD, and then, Contorted, obviously. Dave Sawyer from Contorted. And then
He
Angelo,
actually
who's with Hellfrost now.
he is. And fun fact, Dave actually played with Vince Crowley in that band Entity back in the day
Yes.
too. So
Played with Cemetery Slut in one of my bands too at
he
one
did. He
time.
was in Generichrist for a little
Generichrist,
while.
yeah, is in a bunch of different.
What's
or a
funny
bunch,
is everybody that was in DTR eventually was in Generichrist at one point or
yeah,
another. So
it's very true.
we just
Yeah.
fucking round members all around.
Well, I'll never forget. We talked about this on an earlier episode. I'll never. So, like with Generichrist, it was getting really shitty there. Probably like I don't know what was that, Ed? Like maybe two. This is before, no, Ed was in and out a few times, and we had. It was. I'm trying to think what the exact lineup was, but it was the Fuck Ritual demo lineup actually, and I'll never forget. Like shit was just really going sour. You just feel it. You go to practice, it sucks. The atmosphere sucks. Anybody who's been in bands knows how it goes. It's all periods of time. Like
Yep.
you have the really good flow. I mean, shit. I remember when Generichrist was going to Puerto Rico. Man, the band was like really, really happy and upbeat until we got to Puerto Rico, and then people almost went to jail. But besides that, it was kind of like everyone was in good spirits, But that right when that Fuck Ritual demo came out, there was like a lot of bullshit going on, and I remember we replaced the lineup. I called up Ed, and we replaced the lineup in probably like couple hours, everybody, because it was just got to that point where everything was boiling over, where it was either going to be no band or a new band. And like I said, when I formed Generichrist, I knew I didn't want to do a bunch of other bands unless they were somewhat my band or partly my band, just because I had played in other people's bands so much that when you get older, it's not that you're too good, you're just tired of the bullshit. And that too, Ed. For you, it's kind of different because you play with a lot of professional bands. You make your career a lot of that out of that, so it makes sense. And that sometimes you got to follow the team rules when you're doing that, But when you're not getting paid and you're doing it because you love it and you're just jamming, and there's, like I said, you're not paying your
You're
bills
less
off of
likely
it.
to take shit.
Yeah, you don't give
You
a
know?
shit. And I'm just totally like that. And I think the only enemies I have ever really had are pretty much like,
Ex-band
from
members.
ex-bandmates or something like that, and whatever. I mean,
I got plenty of those.
yeah. So,
Like
it's, but
when they keep you off the Wikipedia and put people on that never played a second anywhere besides a
exactly.
practice room. Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, we've had
You know
like, yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
You could write. I'm telling you, you could write a book one day.
Yeah,
But
I probably could.
that was definitely an interesting time, and I mean, and for me and you, we've done a lot of stuff together, and like I said, whoever's listening to this show, we're kind of just doing a bullshit show to hang out and just chill for a little bit and talk about some of the bands we've played in, because we just had some spare time today, and we haven't done an episode since we had our last guest, and we've been very guest heavy. So figured, we'd hang out for a little bit. But me and Ed also did a band called Flesh Reaper. That was
Never
more
heard
of
of her.
a never heard of her. That was like definitely if anybody listened to Generichrist, we had a lot of punk shit going on, because I was brought up in that world, like the punk and metal mix.
Yep. Me
And
too.
yeah, and it was like with Flesh Reaper, the idea was to kind of I didn't want to totally like overcome Generichrist to be total punk music, because eventually it was kind of, we were playing punk shows, which I had no problem with at all. I always loved playing the Tampa Bay hardcore shows, you know. I always enjoyed that atmosphere. It was a different atmosphere playing those punk shows than playing the total like death metal shows, because that's one thing about we go back to Generichrist for a second. We didn't give a shit. Like we weren't trying to be a death metal band. We weren't trying to be this or that, or we were just trying to be Generichrist. And it hurt us for a while, I think. But I think eventually, people caught on to like, we kind of did our own thing, and we were mixing very well with the punk bands. I mean, we played with the Murder Junkies. We played with the Scurvy out of Tampa. Who else? Mosquito Teeth. We used to, all those bands, like there's just,
We had a very the bands we got to play with, from death metal bands to like Voivod to Overkill, which is a completely thrash band,
Toxic Holocaust, Rotting Christ. We
yeah,
played
man.
a Cannibal
We played
Corpse, Obituary a bunch of times.
that show at the fucking Czar with
Secrets of the Moon, right?
Secrets of the Moon, and there was one other one that was on that show, Secrets of the Moon, and another band like that, which was fucking
So it was
nuts.
us. Actually, Promethean Horde played that show, and it was
Divine
Samuel,
Heresy, Divine
Divine
Heresy,
Heresy,
Secrets of the Moon, and then
Samuel.
no, I don't think it was Samael. It was
I think it. I got to see the flyer for that. But I
yeah,
remember
man.
Secrets of the Moon
But
had
it was a
LSK from.
yeah, but it was a band like that. That was all that kind of weird, not black metal, but kind of gothic weirdy, and
Got to look that
but
up. I know that was a crazy venue.
it was
Pete
a czar.
Sandoval was there that night. Remember
Yeah,
that?
yep.
Yeah, he was over there that night, which was we saw him walking around. And it was kind of it was definitely a wild place. But I remember with Secrets of the Moon, I was a fan of this band called Corpus Christi, which I still am, out of Portugal. And that there was a Hell Militia and a couple of these other. They're like more the black and not stuff you really dig at. Totally, it's like that total like underground black death metal stuff. But they had a LSK was playing with them, who she actually is deceased now. But it was kind of wild because I had no idea she was with that band, and I remember like seeing her setting up on the stage. I was like, holy shit, LSK is with Secrets of the Moon, and it was kind of I remember I still have the photo with her actually, and it was kind of it was I didn't expect to meet her or see her that night, but I was always a
Right.
fan of some of those
I remember.
underground bands she played with. But yes, that was definitely cool. It was those shows back then, like you
You
said,
pl-
we played with Goat Whore, we played with we pretty much back then we played with obviously we played with Trouble, we played with who else do we fucking
Moonspell.
Moonspell, that's right.
That's who it was.
Who was
That was
I
the headline.
saying?
Samael. Oh no,
Uh,
you're right. Samael did play.
oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I thought so. I
Moonspell,
know we played with him at
Samael,
one time.
Book of Black Earth, Secrets of the Moon. Yeah, that was a fun,
Promethean Horde,
and
right?
that was such a weird venue. That because it was, I think it turned into a gay nightclub. Like that's what it
Or I
is.
think it used to be
Or
prior to that.
it might have been, but I think it is again.
Oh, is it? 'Cause
But
I think it
I think
was
so. Because but it was such a big. When we went inside, I remember us going, "What the fuck, man?" Because we were like,
the big
"This is
video screen. You could see yourself
yeah, dude."
playing
We
while
were
you were
just like,
playing.
"What the fuck, man?" You wouldn't expect this club. Like you would think they would have because it was almost as big as the Masquerade inside.
Yeah, that was
Almost,
Ybor City too.
yeah,
That place was
yeah,
definitely
man. It was right across from the Masquerade, actually.
yeah.
Crazy enough. No, it was a
Yeah,
good show, dude. I remember we played good, and Divine Heresy played that night, and
dude, that was actually a lot of. Was that? Yeah, I totally forgot. That was a long time ago too, man. If you look at that, that
because
was a while
actually
ago.
I know what happened. Divine Heresy took the place of Samael because they didn't come. They couldn't get in the country, so Divine Heresy jumped on because we didn't see Samael. That's why when you said Samael, because I've only seen them in Europe on a festival. I've never seen them here. So it was Divine Heresy had taken the place uh of Samael. But yeah, killer show.
Those shows back then were great. We played a lot of those, and I think that's one thing that was different about Flesh Reaper is we kind of didn't play. We kind of, which Generichrist we would do too, because Generichrist played a lot of punk shows. We played house shows, the House Party from Hell, which I forget. I don't know what year that was. That might have been 2016. I don't remember, or 2018 or something. But we did that show. And but with the Flesh Reaper, we started doing more of the St. Pete punk shows. We started playing at the local 662 and the Foo Bar and stuff like that. And I our bass player was actually in a band that I dug as a kid. I think you dug too, Ed. Was the Crucifix. We had Scott in
Crucifix.
there. Yeah, we had Scott was a big part of that band for those early years. Yeah, that was and I never forget too is when I first found out about Scott, I was at a show. It might have been Off, might have been playing actually. I believe it was Off, was playing at the Foo Bar. Or no, they were playing at the local 662. And 'cause I took my nephew that night and he like crowd surfed for the first time actually. And some guy came up to me and was like, hey man, he's like, I know a bass player that's looking for a band. And it was Scott, and he's like, he played with the Crucifix. So right away I was like, oh yeah, like give me his info and vice versa. And then yeah, the next thing we did records with Scott, and then that band. I gotta say, when it was gelling, like there was a couple years that it was actually like, because Flesh Reaper was maybe a 5-year period, 4-year period. We really were actually active. We had it was cool, man. The band was fun at first, and we went through a couple of drummers, the same drama bullshit as you go through. Um, we had Dwayne Rollick from the Murder Junkies play on a lot of the stuff, do solos, which was cool. I was always a fan of his playing. I still am. I He was a great player. You know, yeah, I mean,
And
you got
that
to.
kind of put me on my comfort level because I was playing guitar, which
Yeah, you gotta move
yeah,
to Ed. 'Cause Ed wears multiple hats. Like we flip around Ed. Like we've been talking about, which I mean, who knows what will happen. We've been talking about doing some shows in the States, but like later next year, I guess you would say, on some stuff. And usually it's like, well, we can't. The bass player is not going to be available, or the guitar player is not going to be. And poor Ed, we always say, okay, Ed, that's what you're going to do this time. We move him around. We're like, okay, dude, we know you're do this, but tonight you're going to have to do this, and Ed might have to do some guitar playing coming up. And the homework and the actually the task he's going to be given is not fucking easy if it actually happens. So I mean, because as we were saying, like, Ed kind of gets put in that situation where it's like he doesn't play drums, or we'd have him doing that sometimes because we've had drummer problems several times. But I mean, but yeah, Flesh Reaper, we put out a 7-inch. We put out the one day closer to death, end of the joke demo, which and what else did we do? We did Cascatastrophe,
Blue
which
Skies.
Blue Skies Laced with Pesticide. We did a few albums, and we're actually going to play a track off of the Cascatastrophe record now, which the Cascatastrophe record was a real pain in the ass because we fucking put it out on this label um, called Metal Bastard Records, and the
Mm,
fucking like the
mm.
CD was out for like a year before we saw a copy. They didn't put any in the liner notes, got left out. I mean, it's just crazy. Um, Really was an aggravating time because you work hard on something in that record. We really did bust our ass on that.
Aren't
Recorded
they
that
the
Red
ones that
Room
fucked?
again.
Aren't they the ones that fucked up the Taste of Death too? The cover.
Yeah, they censored the cover. They put a bunch of bullshit that we didn't really want on there without over the artwork. And the thing was, the artwork for the Taste of Death cover, which was done by Mark Cooper, and it's pretty damn explicit artwork. But if you're gonna try to like censor someone's shit, you should tell them before they know. I
Well,
was given a box of records with this. I guess Germany, this is
star.
common.
It was a
Yeah, with a
star.
star over the one of the girls or the parts of the album cover with featuring former members of blah blah blah, which we
Oh,
fucking.
that's the thing I remember. Rattan flipped on that when he did Hate Eternally. He says, "Do not put Morbid Angel on here," and they did. And it wasn't that he doesn't respect Morbid Angel, but Eric Rattan wanted to stand on his own, and that's a lot of us want to do that. And they, that's the first thing they did was former Massacre, former blah blah blah, and it's like, dude,
And it
fuck
was
off with
frustrating
that.
only because Flesh Reaper was not a flashy band. Like it was meant to be like an underground band, and at least that was Generichrist that did that too. It wasn't even Flesh Reaper. Flesh Reaper, they just left the liner notes out and fucking
Yeah,
just
they just
screwed
fucked
us
that
a
up
couple other
altogether.
ways. But
Yep.
the Taste of Death record, I remember the vinyls. I actually sold out of those vinyls. I believe. I think I only have like one or two that are just my copies that I kept. Um,
I don't even have it.
would you give yours away? You got a couple of those copies.
Not
The
not the
Taste of Death.
vinyl. I got.
The Taste of
Oh,
Death 12
the
inches
Taste
you
of
got.
Death one. I thought you
Yeah.
were talking about the Flesh Reaper. Yeah,
No,
no.
yeah, no, they never came out on vinyl. The only thing
I
that came
didn't
out on
think so.
vinyl,
I was
Flesh
going to
Reaper,
say,
was the
if you
7
got
inches.
vinyl, you better fucking send it
Yeah,
over with the rest of the
no,
shit you've been holding off on
it
me,
was only
motherfucker.
7 inches that came out of that band.
Yeah, well, I know
Um,
about 7 inches, so we're good.
exactly. Try 9. But yeah. So we did one day closer to death in 2015. End of the joke, which had waiting behind the ATM with a crowbar and an addiction was a true song about one of our band members at that time period who went through a little period of life that he was basically waiting behind an ATM with a crowbar. I mean, the story is
Can't
too
make this
deep to
shit
get
up,
into.
dude.
You
You
can't
just
make it up. We did that. We did a couple of originals. But we did Ruptured Nuptials from MOD, which did not take much effort, obviously. And we did Just to Get Away from Poison Idea, which still think is a killer cover that we did. It's hard for me to be complimentary of something I do, but I will say that I even heard from Jerry from Poison Idea when it came out, and totally got the thumbs up, so that was cool. And then we did that, and then like I said, that band was basically 2014 to like 2022. I think realistically of actually a working thing. We did the Violation Wound Flesh Reaper split in 2015, um, which actually had that Poison Idea cover on it. We did Cascatastrophe, which is going to be the song that we're going to play a track from in a moment here. Then that was 2016
we did a
Cascatastrophe.
video too for
Yeah, I'll Kill You to Survive.
yep.
Um, and then we did Blue Skies Laced with Pesticide, which actually we had a couple contributors on that album because we had Dwayne Rollick again, who did appear on Cascatastrophe. But we also had Jim Ross really help out on that record because of some situations that happened, and that came out in 2018.
I ended up playing bass on a bunch of
Yeah,
tracks
yeah,
on
that's
that
what I'm
album
saying. We
too.
always flip you around, man. It's never like a normal procedure. But we're gonna play a track off that Cascatastrophe album now. This is Ed's pick, actually, "Summer at the Bodyfarm," and we'll be right back on the Tampa Morgue after this song.
Good evening, friends. This is your host to welcome you through the creaking door into the inner sanctum. Come on in.
Ignorance is bliss. Let death get you a kiss. Before you know it, you're underground. We'll eat your fucking soul. And before you know, you will be forgotten about. Burning the chest, shortness of breath. Now you're hellbound. Burning your skin, punishment, sin. The devil they told you about. Running in a never known. Waiting for the ritual of death to come. I am not the chosen one. I am the forgotten one. The end is now here. It's everything you fear. You lay dead without a sound. But now it's come to this. And isn't life a bitch? You thought you had it figured out. Ultimate screams, clutching of pain. This is not true sound. Voice of death, now you get to see what it's all about. Running in the never known. Waiting for the ritual of death to come. I am not the chosen one. I am the forgotten one. Worship the sun. 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 Worship the sun.
There you go. That was "Summer at the Bodyfarm" off of the Cascatastrophe record that came out in 2016 on Metal Bastard Records. No information inside the sleeve because they left it out. Obviously, that was not important. Basically,
You
just
don't
got
worry
the
about the
artwork.
lyrics; just figure them out yourself. But
Yeah, figure 'em out.
I mean, every song on that record is really good. But there was something about that tune, just the way, you
It
know.
was different than the other shit. It was not as
Well,
punky as the other stuff. Maybe I guess
I've
you'd
always
say.
said that you have a voice that's so unique because you
Only
can
your mother
flip
could
in and out
love.
of you can flip in and out of voices, Dr. Claw and all these weird fucking voices that you do, like a King Diamond kind of dude. I mean, you sell yourself short a lot, but I mean, when you if you listen to these songs on that record, you're in and out of vocals, even the Doomsilla shit, and Generichrist. I mean, you try to keep to your, I call it the Tony voice. And it's no slag, but I always tell people if Sam Kinison and fucking John Connolly from Nuclear Assault had a baby, it would be Tony, because he's got that.
With Doomsilla, I try never to have that in there.
Exactly, but I'm talking about the Generichrist. You like, if you sing, people know that's a Generichrist song because it's your voice. It's a certain voice that you have that it's distinguishable. And,
which didn't do me well at first, because a lot of, at that time period when we first came out in Generichrist, the more the death metal thing was totally like the big thing, and like we kind of like stood out because we were like higher pitched vocals, but not like a cappella, like nothing crazy.
No, it was
just different,
like Nuclear Assault singing death metal.
Yeah,
like,
I love Nuclear Assault growing up. So hey, man, me
too. No, I'm just saying, it was like one of those but it's a thing. How many times have you heard a band that sounds like Nuclear Assault? You haven't, because he had a distinguishable sound. Like Sam Kinison, when he would go, and he would do that fucking
I love Sam Kinison,
thing.
So
yeah, so to me, that's you got a certain type of voice, you go with it, right? And you had that, and you have a lot of unique, different voices that you use, and that's why the music sounds the way it does, which to me, it blows my mind that none of these fucking things get picked up, because I've heard shit that's picked up and it's trash.
I always say, we were the fluffer band, like, with Generichrist, especially. We got to a certain level, it was all I had a good time when I had a good time. I never
come off stage wiping our lips off, going, all right, it's your turn. You guys are good to go.
Exactly. We were always that band, and it was okay because I never had success in my mind. It just was crazy. Sometimes when you see some bands that did, you'd be like, holy shit, really? Like,
I swear to God, we should use what you always say. If we were to wear assless chaps backwards, I swear we would have got signed.
Well, costumes, yeah. I mean, we saw in some bands, or Bions, and I believe I was talking to Bill Owen about this recently, actually. When I talked to Bill from, help me out here, Ed. Bill from Purgatory, yes, on the phone the other day, actually, about some stuff. And, sometimes you see bands on these bills now, and the fact is that a lot of it's Bion. It's not that they really like totally destroyed it to get on there. They just kind of had the money to do it, and
the label backing because they see something in them, and we had no backing. Everything we built on our own.
We're in the red for the rest of. I mean, personally, musically, I'm in the red for the rest of my life, and that's okay, man, because I had a great time doing it, and I still have a great time doing it. Now I'm just a little more responsible. Where like when I just kind of like lived for whatever, man, I was like, we'll get this. Now I'm a little
home
more
with 16 girls, and they can play the fucking the circus seal on you. Yeah, gotcha.
Those days are done, man. Like there was a period of time though where it was like fun for, I didn't have any cares. I didn't have a wife and kids, and that's a little different. I would just be like, whatever, See,
I didn't know any of that.
How that goes, dude. You see how many guys have you seen in bands?
Yeah, but the early '90s was like, late '80s, or early '90s to the late '90s, because I've been shackled since 2000, so that's 24 years, man. I've been basically married.
Hey, man, but you and your wife, you go to Taco Fest. She drags you out to see Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson. I get to go to the rodeo. I'm telling you, man. She got into this fucking this country thing, and now all of a sudden I notice I got blue jeans and these fucking
cowboy boots.
I got these cool boots here that showed up today with spurs. So I don't know what they're for, but I think I'm supposed to wear them.
Tie your shirt up in the front. I got a cowboy hat on.
I ordered a thing of straw that comes in the field so I can put it in my mouth and chew on it. Yeah, I'm starting to dip Red Man, so we're good.
Yeah, that's what you do. I have my wife's making me go to a show coming up pretty soon that like I have no interest in going to, but I am going to go to it because I drag her. I drug her to see like Udo, or I drag her to see like just bands
you told me who it was. I can't remember.
Yeah, dude. I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to go because my wife fits outdoors and it's going to be in the spring. So I figure
you're going to say it because you just talked about dragging me. I got dragged to a rodeo, so you better fucking say it.
Yeah, I told my wife she wanted me to go see Bryan Adams with her. So
that's right. Cuts like
he's really big. He's really big over here. I mean, Summer '69 is about my cutoff. I cuts like a knife. I remember that, of course. But yeah, so I guess he's really big here, and I dragged my wife to like.
But we grew up with that, dude. I'll be honest with you.
What do you remember after that though? Like Summer '69 and cut like after that, it was like love songs and like Robin Hood songs and shit like that.
But you know what? If he came here and she wanted to go see him, I'd go see him. I mean,
you gotta go.
We tried to buy this. So they have here at the amphitheater. It's a you can get a lawn pass for the whole season for a certain. It was like $150, and you get to go to like 20 different concerts. And when I started looking at the list of concerts, I was like Janet Jackson and fucking Limp Bizkit and Creed and a couple of country things and all this. And I'm thinking, man, I will look like the fucking New Kids on the Block. I'm like, could you imagine me
Yeah,
or
dude, I'm
whatever?
sorry, man. I would go to I'll go see Brian Adams for my wife because I could probably have a few wines and hang out. It's be spring out, but you're not getting me to go see New Kids on the Block or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like
that would be
that.
one I fucking handed my pass to somebody else
Fuck
for. I wouldn't be
that.
going. But there were a couple on there that I was like, oh, this would be a good. Red Hot Chili Peppers was one of them. I'd go see the Chili Peppers. But it's just, dude, going to shows is just a thing. You know what I mean? Like I said, I went to this rodeo and this fucking overweight white chick was fucking belting out tunes, and every song, dude, I swore I learned something the hard way, because my ears were bleeding. Was, hey, so my man dumped me and I went to my apartment and I was drunk as fuck, so I wrote this song. So yeah, I was in my apartment at 4 a.m. and I was drunk and I wrote this song. Hey, so you know what? This guy fucked me over and I was in my apartment drunk as fuck, so I wrote this song, and I'm thinking, wow, there's a weird dynamic going on here. Stop drinking because your songs suck.
Yeah, I haven't been to a
I hope my
rodeo. I
wife
don't
doesn't
think.
hear this because I'll be fucking crucified.
And she didn't hear some of the other things you said in past
Oh my
episodes, so I
goodness
think you're
gracious.
safe,
No, she
man.
missed a couple
Before we
of
knew
them.
how to edit,
Yeah, dude.
before you knew how to edit,
If
like,
I could edit, I would have pulled out the bloody
oh
fucking
yeah,
murder
exactly.
scene.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't know how
But
to,
yeah, I mean,
we're learning as
concerts
we
are a
go.
thing, dude.
And actually, okay, I'm going to mention a few concerts, man, that are going. Nice. People sent me some concerts that are coming up, and I'll mention these because probably going to play like two more songs from a couple of bandmates bands. I think we played Doomsilla, we played Destined Ruin so
Generichrist.
far. Generichrist, Kill Your Parents, the thing we opened up with. Lovely title, I know. Um, but we also announced that
I
Snowy
can,
Shaw will be coming on the show, which is
yeah.
on
And
just
Sunday, I'm
fucking
going
cool.
to see a show here. Vader,
Oh, that's
Origin,
right.
and Inhuman Condition are playing at the Orpheum. So
And
I
Ed's buying drinks to the first five people that walk
no, the
up
fuck I'm not,
to.
because I don't drink. So you don't get my credit card like on the cruise. You don't
That
get
is good.
that.
Oh yeah, we haven't even. We're going to touch the cruise before we leave too. So I better.
Oh, I'm
I
talking
totally
about the
forgot about
last
that.
cruise. I was talking about the chick on the cruise that put the card up after
Oh
showing
yeah,
after the roast beef incident.
exactly. Oh, the roast beef. It's like the blue waffles. If anybody Google's blue waffles, you're going to really regret it. But so I will announce a few
I'm
shows on
googling
here.
that right now.
Exactly. Yeah, let me see here. I got a show list because this age you got to make a list, because you kind of. It's hard for me to. I haven't been to a Florida show in a while, actually, to be honest with you. But I saw that I think Pete has a show going on at the Brass Mug on Saturday, March 9th. It's the Stomped and Mauled on the East Coast tour. 7 p.m., $15, and it's Maul, Gravesend, Vacious Depths, Plague Spitter, or Plaque Spitter, I believe it is. Plaque Spitter, it's pretty. And
A
Acid Trip.
mouthful.
That's a mouthful. So Maul, Gravesend, Vacious Depths, Plaque Spitter, an anti-acid trip at the Brass Mug on Saturday, March 9th. And that is, again, the Stomped and Mauled on the East Coast tour. Doors at 7 p.m. Tickets are 15. Saturday, March 23rd. Let me see here. What is this? Florida Thrash International presents is putting on a show for $10. It's Precipice, Scorch, Vast Decline, Hate Tank, Three Knuckles Deep, and Withdrawn from Humanity. And then there was one more, I think, here that I was going to mention. Oh, which I've been to one of these, I believe. Punk Rock Flea Market. It's a free event, Saturday, March 2024. I should have wrote the actual day down. Um, I don't know if you can look at that date, Ed, really fast. The Saturday, March. So it's the Punk Rock Flea Market. It's going to be at the Tipsy Tiki at 658th North 2nd Street in Fort Pierce. And it's got bunch of artists, unique small businesses will be there. It says live music from Florida bands, food, barbecue, and local drinks. I just sort of wrote down the actual date. See, that's why you get lost when you do this. But it's the Punk Rock Flea Market in Fort Pierce, and it's definitely in March. I can't find the. Do you see the date of that actually, Ed,
Yeah,
at
I'm
all?
looking. I see a bunch of them, but they don't have that one. Oh wait, in Gulfport.
Fort Pierce. Is it?
That may be the same, but it looks like Sunday, March 10th.
Okay, so yeah, and you have to Google it, guys, because we may have told you the wrong information. If you show up there, we don't want to feel bad about you showing up to the wrong place, but you know.
Who cares?
And then I know I talked to Nick Goodyear, and Swarm Fest 2024 will be November 15th through the 17th at the Brass Mug. We've played it before with Generichrist. We played Incantation was on that, right? Hobbs of Death, Solstice, I believe, was on that.
There was a bunch of bands.
Yeah, a bunch of bands. There was
3 days, right?
Yeah,
3-day
event.
Yeah,
3-day event. But they're doing that again on November 15th through the 17th. I don't even know how many Swarm Fest there's been. I want to say there's been like 5 or 6. But that'll be taking place again. And Ed, you actually were on, which we didn't get a chance to talk about because we've had so many guests lately, and I wanted to get to it. Can you give us a little insight on your trip on this 70,000 tons of metal that you went on this year with Monstrosity, which people probably do know from our show that you guys kind of were a last minute add on and you didn't really have much notice.
Yeah, Nile, the guys in Nile got COVID, a couple guys, so they had to bail. And actually, it probably would have worked out anyway, because even if Nile was on, because there were 2 other bands that couldn't make it on, that couldn't get in the country from Europe. Now, of course, I can't remember who they are, which is crazy. Because there were so many bands that I wound up watching on this thing. Some that I was like, oh my God. And then some I was like, oh shit, this fucking turned out better than I expected.
Was it we said it was very was it like more power metal heavy and like Viking metal heavy?
Yeah, there was only, well, I mean, I don't know if you can consider, I guess you could. I mean, there was like 5, maybe 5 death metal-ish bands on there. Inhuman Condition, which the second show, because I couldn't see the first show, they played an hour before us the first night, or we played the second day at 11 o'clock, or no, at 2 o'clock in the morning. We played the second night, Tuesday, which technically was Wednesday. They played at 1. So they played across the boat. But what's killer is they're such good fucking dudes that they came right from their show, and I seen them in the back. Like, they walked in and sat front row in the back of where we were playing, and they came to support. So Jeremy, Terry, fucking Colton was their new drummer, 21 years old.
I heard he's awesome.
He turned 21 on the cruise, and dude, this kid is fucking amazing, dude. Like, flawless. And of course, Taylor, great dudes, man. Hung out with them a couple different times. But yeah, their second show was probably one of the heaviest I've heard a fucking band sound. Every band I heard in this, it was called the Ice Rink, and it was terrible. Like, a lot. We found out, because that was the first one we played, that the guy who was mixing never did a death metal band. So there you go. That'll always get you. But they were killer. They just crushed. And then Cataclysm was the other one. They were killer. I only got to see one of their shows. They played the pool deck, and they were, it's Cataclysm. If you know Cataclysm, you know how heavy they are. The band that blew me away, I saw them twice, was Septic Flesh. Definitely, heavy, different type of heavy. And I don't know how the guy that sings and plays bass, he wears gloves. I'm trying to figure out how he plays bass with gloves, but that's cool. I mean, if it works, you do it. But yeah, they're killer. And they're actually coming here on a pretty big tour package. I'll next time we do a show, I'll have that info. But I saw it and was like, holy fuck, that's a big. And they're playing the Orpheum, so it's going to be huge. But yeah,
how was the vibe? How was the general vibe?
It was different. It wasn't like when we went on the cruise. It was definitely different all the way around. Different ship. They've got a different ship now, so the layout's a lot different. But yeah, it was power metal-y. I saw a couple of bands. One was a dwarf band. They're coming too. They're coming to the Orpheum. And I just was like, But we watched them, and I was like, oh, it's kind of impressive, but I don't
Oh, the
know.
whole band was like Mini Kiss.
No, they weren't. They weren't dwarves at all. That's all they sang about was dwarfs. Like
Oh, okay. And
the
not the
old like
punk rock, the dwarves, who I do
no, no,
love.
no. They sang about like fucking like uh Lord of the Ring dwarves type shit, you know, fucking going into battle and fucking swing of the axe and that type of crazy shit. But the singer had like one of those fucking voices that he was just a big dude, but he could fucking hit these notes. And yeah, it was a lot of stuff like that. And of course you had Destruction.
Can't go wrong there usually, right?
No, I'm not Destruction. Sodom. And Sodom, you know, Tom, obviously Angel Ripper, you know, what can you say? They played, you know,
I saw them this year in Lithuania.
yep,
Well, last year, right?
they played a couple
Awesome.
of very killer sets. One was their old and new shit, and then they did the whole Agent Orange album. So it was killer. You know, and then there were a couple other, you know, here and there bands that we checked out, and it just wasn't the same vibe. I didn't find myself wanting to run across the boat like we had, like to go see Raven or go see Death Angel or DRI, where we
Well,
were
like
running around the
that
boat.
lineup was stacked, Ed. When we went, I
Yeah,
mean, it was really
yeah,
like Overkill, Death Angel. I
yeah.
mean,
It was a different.
Massacre.
It was a completely different. And it seems like that happens from year to year. That you know we wind up. You know, you get on a show and you're just like, man, I don't know, man. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy fuck, man, this turned out to be like 1,000 times better than I could have ever expected. But you know, in retrospect, we got to play 2 killer sets. You know, it was killer. Uh, I mean, you got to see the one I sent you, the one set we did. It was recorded, so
Yeah, I'm
you know,
bootlegging those actually on eBay on
yeah,
DVD.
fuck yeah,
Anybody's
man. I
interested,
would, I'd sell them for
hit me
double and
up.
then fucking. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, like I said, we didn't anticipate playing because we're right. You know, we were doing the record, so we figured when the record come out, we'd probably go. The problem is Lee's like, I've been on this cruise like 8 times now, so he's like, I'm probably at, you know, I'm probably at my limit from, you know, and I'm going to keep having people on, but you never know, you know. There's a lot of shit that comes up. All these fucking um, festivals, you know, festival season comes up and you know, towards the end of the year, and
Are you
who
guys starting
knows?
to get offers ready for Monstrosity?
Nah, because we're still, you know, I think once the record comes out, which you know, it's fully done. So, well, just got to put leads. You know, they're my understanding, all the leads are done. They're just got to insert them in the song. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. So, and listening back to it, I listened to it. You know, Bryce has listened to it, and he's like, I think this is going to be, you know, bigger, because he's been listening to the Back from Beyond, and he didn't understand that years ago, and now he's like, dude, he goes, I think I missed the boat on something, because he goes, that fucking record's really good, and I'm like, yeah, it is really fucking good. You know,
Yeah, your
it's a
son.
good.
It's cool that he's, because your kid, obviously my nephews and stuff, they were very young back then. We used to take them to shows all the time, and your Bryce, your boy would hang out with my nephew Joey, and I remember what Overkill, and then just but now he's starting to get older, and he appreciates it. And that's like my girls; they listen to like Alice Cooper, of course, because of me, and like Kiss, whatever, like all
I
these
think they
for
just
their
didn't.
ages,
I
they
think
listen to that.
they were so young, he didn't understand what Overkill is, but when he hears them now, he's like, oh,
He
I wish
gets
I
it.
would have paid more attention, you know. Or when he saw us play and he videotaped us in Orlando, remember he was,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
recording us, and he was like, dude, I didn't know what I was watching back then. He goes, I would give anything to see you now, because he's obviously 2018, 6 years later, he's heard that record now. He listens to it at the gym all the time, and he's been listening to Rain and Blood, which is weird. But
Hey man, that's how it goes though. Like like I say with my
he's
kids,
not
I
a
want them to hear
metalhead.
it now. I want them to hear it now so they always appreciate it. Whether I don't care, my kids can listen to whatever they want when they get older.
Sure.
But I want them to realize, like, because these kids these days, you're faced with all these artists now who aren't even really writing their songs or really singing and stuff like that. So I just want my kids, which they will, because like I said, my daughter's obsessed with like Alice Cooper and stuff, and she's only 5, or 4
Right.
going on 5. So just I want it in her library so she realizes that there was a great time of music, because we grew up in a great time of music and we got to see a lot of it, you know. And like we were talking to Kyle about the Midnight Special and shit like that. Like I
Right.
remember that. Like actually after we did the interview with him, I sat with my wife and watched a bunch of the old episodes on YouTube. I was like, man, I'm like, what a different time
What a
period.
time. Yeah. Well, it's like my daughter is getting ready for her little birthday, so she was getting her eyebrows done yesterday. So she didn't want to park downtown because she don't know how to do that. Because you got to use an app and shit. And she's like, I don't want to try to parallel
Yeah, here
park
it's
in a
like that
space.
too.
So I drove her and dropped her off. And on the way, when I get in the car, usually my phone starts through the Bluetooth. You know, when we talk, how it transfers.
Wham comes
And
on and the whole car starts breaking
it
into
did.
the
We were fucking
the
jamming, bro.
jitterbug.
Yep. So, but the my VLC player had the new monstrosity playing, and we were just driving down Florida, and I let it play because there's a couple tunes that I really on that record, and I could see her. She's looking at her phone, and she keeps looking up, and then she looks at the phone. She goes, "This is you," and I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "That's really good." Now this is a girl that knows nothing about metal.
So
Now,
listen
and
to
I always
Usher and
say,
stuff like that.
I'm like, man, it has to suck when people say, "Oh, your dad's in a band. What is he?" You know, and it's like, how do I? Because obviously she goes to a fucking Christian school. And they all know. They know what I do because they've known since day one what I am. But it's just, but it's good to hear that somebody who has zero interest in metal can appreciate if something sounds good.
And I believe that's from having them around it when they're kids. I mean, your
I
kids
think
were
so.
at our band practices. I mean, whether they know what work goes into it, it's not just
I
whatever
can
you want to
remember her at the DTA show when we played with Death to All.
Oh yeah,
When I
that was a
came
great
off
show.
that tour, and she had those little fucking pink earmuffs on and was sitting there, and I could see her in the crowd just sitting on the barrier with my wife, and here she was, 6 years old, 8 years old, fucking with little earmuffs on, fucking, and I'm just like, holy shit, man.
That's cool. Yeah. And now she's 18, and now she's all grown up, dude. But
now she's gonna tell me to go fuck myself. So that's awesome.
What they do. And I think the thing is, you talk about like with your daughter hearing Monstrosity in the car and saying that to you. I think that also has a lot to do is if they didn't know, like if they weren't raised around it, they probably wouldn't get it. But when they're young and they're around rock music or this kind of music, like it makes sense. And I think that's why you can't force your kids to listen to shit, but it's cool.
No, and I would
have
never
them up in different environments, like
and I've never done that.
Yeah,
I've never done that, but
it.
I've let them watch movies and stuff that have different kinds of music in it, and I think they understand because I can remember we watched a movie a couple times that they really liked, and all of a sudden it had old like it might have been Skinner or fucking Foreigner, like Dazed and Confused, all the tunes that were in that movie, and I can remember my son
Aerosmith was in that movie.
Emotions. And I'm like, really? So when you hear something and it logs in their head, they remember it, and it's good because music is a good gateway to a lot of shit.
Definitely,
not that mumble rap bullshit, but music.
Awful. They're drinking cough syrup and shit like that. Their pants are down to their ankles. It's just a lot of
gonna shoot your ass in the park.
A lot of silly shit.
Gonna yell hark. I'm gonna blast you like Tony Stark.
That's right. Yeah, I can't do it. I just cannot do it. Not into the rap music. Like I said, to each his own. Whatever you want to listen to, it's cool. But we're actually gonna. So we have a couple things. We got a couple that I pulled emails from people. So I will pull one or two. I know Ed's got one he's gonna read first. It's probably like 20 more minutes here. Then I got to take off. Me and the wife are going to a hockey game tonight. Actually, we got a babysitter coming, so it's like, Actually, I will say, Ed, I booked my hotel rooms for Prague for October to go see. Everybody who doesn't know, I'm a huge New Jersey Devil fan. I'm from New Jersey, and the Devils are coming to Prague for 2 games, so I'm taking the kids over there. So I look forward to that. It's kind of in my backyard, I guess you'd say. It's a 2-hour flight. Me flying to Florida with a stop in Germany takes about 17 hours. So. So working on some stuff in Florida though. Maybe some shows in Florida in, let's just say, October, November area. But Nothing's in stone yet, but I am going to play a song from another. This show is actually very heavy on his drumming. We got Derek Roddy on playing. I'm playing a song from his band now, and Derek Roddy also, like I said earlier, in Doomsilla. Me and Ed work with him in that. Jim Ross, Jim Ross works with Derek Roddy, and which Derek Roddy is going to be in another song we're going to play at the end of the show. We're going to play a Bandwhore track, but this is from Serpents Rise, which is a Derek Roddy's band. They've put out 4 releases. They put out Serpents Rise 1 in 2010, Serpents Rise 2 in 2012, Serpents Rise 3 in 2014, and then Interpersonal Violence in 2020. The track is called The Scent of the Woke, and the album is called, it came out in 2022, this record, Flowers of the Eastern Slope. And the band formed in 2007, but this lineup on this song is Derek Roddy on drums, of course, Phil Willis on bass, Glenn Connor on guitar, and Jose Hernandez on guitar. So we're going to play the song, The Scent of the Woke. We'll get back, read a couple of the emails we got, and wrap up the show. We'll play some Bandwhore before we end tonight. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this song from Serpents Rise. It's The Scent of the Woke off the 2022 Flowers of the Eastern Slope album. go. That was Derek Roddy's Serpent Rise. But yeah, Ed. So I got a couple. I pulled 2 emails. We're kind of running some low on some time tonight, so I'm going to have you. I actually forwarded you the one since you're the whoever anybody who doesn't know Ed. Ed's like the equipment guy. This guy has like more equipment that has at his house or at one time. It's kind of crazy, but we always called him like the Emporium of Ed's
Yeah, actually,
musical.
I have a one of my fictitious emails that I use for bullshit. Like when I call car dealerships, I call it the Gear Emporium because for years I used to be the guy who would I used to love trying to come up with a bass tone that was just different. And a lot of people used to rag me because I liked Mastodon, but old Mastodon, Troy Sanders' bass tone was just fucking different, incredible. There's a lot of guys out there. I've had conversations with Steve DiGiorgio when we toured, and just guys have just, there's always been a quest for tone, just like guitar players. But for some reason, I was a fucking addict. Guitar and a PV 5150 and a rectifier plugged straight in. That's it. Fucking guitar. You fucking play. But bass was a different animal. And yeah, so
So Wilt sent you, the guy who actually sent you a question is Wilt. His name is, and I've talked to Wilt before. Listens to all of our shows, and
yeah, he
I know
wrote a
he wanted
book.
me
So
to
I'm
ask
just
you.
I'm gonna give you the Reader's Digest version
There you
because I know
go.
you got a split. But basically, he's saying he's a guitar player who plays bass. And you better not be playing with a pick. I'm going to just tell you that right now, because if you are, you're not a bass player. No, I'm just kidding.
You hear
I
that,
played with
Wilt?
I played
This
with a pick.
fucking guy. This
I
fucking
played
guy.
with a pick for the first. You
Angry
know what?
Ed.
The reason I stopped playing with a pick, in all honesty, it wasn't because I wanted to play with my fingers. You knew I played and sang, and I would drop the pick because I would get sweaty. And the picks, I used to play with big picks, and they would slip out of my hands. And I'm going to kill my dog in the background. And it would slip
Watch
out of my
out,
hands,
PETA
and
will be on your
I'd
ass.
have to play with my fingers to finish the song, and then go grab another pick off my amp. And eventually, it just came to the point to where I'm like, "Fuck it, dude! I keep dropping picks," because we'd play the mug, and the mug would be 100 fucking degrees,
Oh yeah.
and there's no way you're not going to get hot. So that's that. I'm just kidding about the pick. Actually, Terry Butler plays with a pick, and fucking his tone is absolutely menacing. So that's a bullshit theory. I'd play with a pick as a matter of fact, if you want to know the truth, a lot of times when we record, I use a pick because it's cleaner and it's easier and it's quicker. But he put down, he's a guitar player. He plays a 7-string. He's tuned to A. And I think he was saying he wanted to get a 3/4 scale bass to match the size of the guitar. And my answer is nope, not going to happen if you're playing an A, because you're never going to be able to get your bass tuned down that low and have any tension. You're going to have nothing but issues, and your sound's going to suck. You need a 5-string bass with a 35 inch scale. Sorry, basses are meant to be long, so you're going to have to learn how to play a longer bass with a 35 inch scale, so you can put a 135 gauge string on the top to get down to A, so it's not sounding like a tin can. Because the thicker the gauge, the lower you tune, you got to have a thicker gauge string. So otherwise, either the tension is too tight, or if it's too big of a gauge, it flops around like a wet noodle. So yeah, you got to get a 35 inch scale bass. They're cheap. Get an Ibanez, get a Dean. They're all over everywhere. Go to Reverb. I have one. I remember we recorded the Skin Tomb. Terry hooked me up with a bass, and I use it for anything. I used it for all of the Doomsilla stuff because it was tuned to the proper tuning. And yeah, you just got to have a 5-string bass tuned to A with a 130 ish gauge string, and you'll be fine. You'll learn.
Yeah.
You learn to play. Just don't play at the neck like a lot of bass players do who are guitar players. You can always tell guitar players who play bass, because bass players that play around the back pickup area with a pick. And because it's just, that's where your arm comfortably lies. If you look at a guitar player, they're playing up near the neck because they're used to playing a shorter guitar, and that's where they pick and play. And you can hear a difference in the actual tone as well, because that front pickup picks it up and it sounds like dog shit.
There
So,
you go, Wilt. There's a Cowboys fan giving you advice. I know Wilt's an Eagles fan, so I
no, sorry
figured,
to hear that. How'd that work out for you? Not the same as me, but at least we made it further. So there's that.
There you go, Angry Ed. The
Yeah,
Prince of Pissed Off is
dude. We need to get something on your space bar that equals the Angry Ed, so you can just hit it.
I'm telling you,
That would be killer.
Exactly. I mean,
Not
you're gonna do
angry.
that.
You asked me a question, and I
I
gave
know,
you
I'm
an
only
answer.
fucking with you. But I got one more question. I'll go here, and then we'll play some music. This is from Christopher in Indiana.
Wow.
Sup, Morgue? I hear. Let me see. I hear album covers talked about often on the show. What were some of your favorite album covers? That's a answer that can go on forever. I'm gonna. I mean, I'm sure Ed, we probably agree on some of them. I'm gonna say
Any
Kent
Bolt Thrower album?
Matthew, Bolt Thrower. Yeah, I figured you'd say that. Kent Matthew, who did, obviously he did Severed Survival. He did Ex Order, Exodus, Forbidden Heathen, Possessed.
A lot of the Geiger albums, the To Megatherion.
There you go, right there. You know what album I always loved, and I brought it up on this show before, the Belphegor Lucifer and Cestus 2003 record, which was done by a guy
Repka.
named Grawl. Yeah, Repka, which, obviously all of us as 80s kids and stuff like that.
How about this? We love every album cover that's not AI.
Exactly. That's going to be a big problem, man. We're
It
starting to
already
see
is,
it
man.
already. It already
You
is.
you saw the deal with Pestilence, man. They're fucking eating it. And
That's going to be.
And I'm going to be honest with you, man, because I'm not a huge fan of that dude, and I got reasons for that. But and I'll address him anytime he wants. But basically, when he says it's like music, blah blah blah, no, dude, music's old school, right? Everything we do musically, if you start infusing AI into your music, it's bullshit. And I think he's missing the point when people are like, "Oh, it's AI. Get with the future." No, the future is you're putting artists out of work. That's the future.
Bad news, man. It's
That's
bad
just
news.
like saying, hey, we got a robot that can work on your car. Sure, that's awesome. What about the guy who spent 25 years working on fucking cars? What's he supposed to do now? Because you got a fucking robot? Get out of here, man. See,
You know
that's
what the problem though is that we're just seeing the beginning of it. That's the problem is. So like we were talking, I don't know who the
Terminator.
fuck. Yeah,
Just think of the movie
eventually.
Terminator, man. That's what you're going to have is a bunch of robots walking the earth, and they're going to not need humans anymore.
When we start dying off, man, it's going to be like us older music
The
guys.
boomers are,
pretty much
when the boomers are gone, you're going to find it's going to be a fucking problem getting shit done.
all AI, man, all AI. It's
Nope.
going to be a big issue, and I even know that's why a lot of that when the actors were battling with Hollywood over some of that, there was a whole big thing going on last year. It was because they're afraid the studios are actually going to use AI of their characters. Like,
Right.
Okay, you don't want to do the second movie? Well, we'll just use your image from the first movie, and that's a scary fucking thing, and it's definitely things to come.
I could see if you're doing like a throwback, like they were doing with Arnold and Terminator, where you had to have a couple scenes where you had to show the throwback.
Where he was young again.
And you had to look, okay, you use a AI generator for a little spot because you're trying to make something happen. Obviously, you can't make them look younger. You can make people look older, but you can't make them look younger. And I could see that for that, but to you do a whole movie or something recreating a character off of an old thing because you don't want to pay somebody or you don't want to I don't know how you would even go about doing it, but to me that's no good. That's not going to work.
Yeah, and
I
like
won't
we
pay
said,
to
it's
see
going
it.
to be a huge issue, man. I will never use. I will say this: is I will not use I will not use AI art for anything I'm involved in, and I hope nobody I play with does
Oh,
because it's just kind of like
We talked about it. I did
my
it
thing.
myself where I pulled up an AI generator and I wrote, because I wrote the one of the DTR songs was called Conspiracy of Science, and it was about like Indonesia, or not Indonesia, but like what happened there with the flood and tornadoes, hurricanes. Eventually we're going to have superstorms that come up, and we're not prepared. There's no way to prepare for any of that, especially if you're trying to have a fucking grid full of electric vehicles and everything that runs on power. It's never going to happen, right? So I said, write me a song about Armageddon, end of the world catastrophe in death metal lyrics. And the fucking thing wrote it. And when I read it, I go, well, I don't know who would sing this shit because it was terrible, but somebody will cheat to and just flip words around. Like I could have flipped the words around about 30 minutes and made it into a killer song from what they wrote. But there are people who would take that, pass it off as their own, and do music like that. And to me, that's fucked up
It's
because that
scary.
takes away the whole feel of somebody, right? Like even a lot of people don't like Glenn's vocal, lyric, what he sings about, right? Like the new stuff. I read the lyrics and was like, yeah, it's pretty brutal. And his videos are fucking ridiculous now. Like as far as like some people would be offended. But when I listen to the lyrics, I'm like, these are fucking great lyrics. He writes great lyrics. He has from day one. He always
Yeah.
has. But he's not using an AI generator to write about the devil.
No.
You know what I mean?
Fuck AI.
Could you imagine that? Glenn singing some stupid shit that AI generated. That's what I'm saying. It's like you take away from the actual aspect and fun of what we do, which your lyrics, some of them I just go, dude, how many mushrooms did you take that? Because you write about some fucking weird shit and come in and out of there with words like Lee. Dude, there are some words in this monstrosity shit that I'm like, bro, take the thesaurus and throw it in the fucking trash because you're just picking big words to pick big words. You know what I mean? And they're not easy to, because, if I were to say vitiated, right? Vitiated, okay? But when you try to growl these words, some
It's
of
a
them,
whole
you're
different.
like, dude, it changes. It goes from vitiated to vitiated because you can't say it like it without it being sounding like rushed, and you have to almost yeah. So I'm just like, dude, stop. Write your own shit.
Yeah,
Not
AI.
Lee. Not Lee. I'm talking about AI.
The problem is that I don't think it's going to go away. It's only going to get worse. But what are you going to do? I mean, everything is just
Book
you got to kind
reports.
of.
My daughter just had to do a 10-page essay on AI and how it could potentially be harmful. And she's like, I'm stuck. I don't know what else. And I go, well, what do you have? And she told me like cars, houses, like, like, I don't know if you remember the guy that his whole house was hooked to his Alexa and
That's
he did
crazy.
something to Amazon and pissed somebody off at Amazon and they shut him out of his house. He could not get into his house because everything was smart. His house was whole house was smart,
It's like a
smart house.
movie. It's like a movie.
So
It's
it's
like one
it's
of these.
terrible, dude. But she didn't realize art, writing lyrics, people doing book reports, doing fucking even expense reports for fucking, how can I make my company better? And an AI generator gives you fucking some list of bullshit facts. I don't know where they get their facts. And this guy could pass it off as fucking gospel. And would people never know the difference?
It's a different. You think about when we were kids and we had a movie like Short Circuit, like this dopey robot. Like we're way past that now. It's a whole different world, man. A whole
Uh,
different world. But yeah, no, and we're actually I'm gonna play since we've been playing a bunch of bands that we've been involved in or have members who are involved in. I do want to keep on spreading this band because as we always say about this human being, our friend, my musical cohort, Mr. Jim Ross, one of the most talented guys I've ever played with. The guy is just insane. We talked about the Bandwhore project in past episodes. Just, I mean, like Ed, there's not enough to say about Jim. The guy's an amazing musician. Kind of lives in the shadows, is not one for being up front, doesn't, I mean, Jim's one of my, I've known Jim, I played with Jim for years and years, and I was like, hey, just stop on the Tampa Morgue. He does not talk on anything. He's not really about having his voice even heard, but besides he's a guitar player, and that's pretty much what he loves to do. He do
he's a
vocals,
he's a bucket head
violinist.
without the bucket.
Yeah, he could do anything. Jim, I have to say, one of the probably the best guitar players. Sorry, but probably the best guitar player I've ever played with. I think just a amazing player, great guy, true musician, does it for the love of it and nothing else. But his Bandwhore, which we've talked about, they have a bunch of music coming out. I mean, he's had everyone play on this stuff, and I mean, just some of your favorite musicians have been involved with Jim on this stuff. The track I'm going to play here before we come back and say goodbye is from 2023, the album Epic of the Ancients. The song is called Blood and Secrecy. The lineup on this was Paul McBride on bass, Derek Roddy on drums, and then, of course, Jim Ross. Everybody obviously knows the bands they played with. Jim Ross has played with Human Enslavement, Nader Sadek, Sadistic Dysentery, obviously Doomsilla. He's done work with Flesh Reaper, Necropia, God Cries, and then Paul's done work with. I think he's done actually something. He did Fire for Effect with Derek Roddy, and Sons of the Morning Star. Derek. Obviously, his resume is Divine Empire, Hate Eternal, Malevolent Creation, Isotropy. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff on. There's a whole list of stuff. But this is a song from the 2023 Epic of the Ancients album from Bandwhore. And the song is called Blood and Secrecy. Right after this, we're going to come back and say goodbye. Episode number 34. Tampa Morgue is almost in the books. Yeah, so that was Bandwhore, Blood and Secrecy off of their 2023 record. Plenty more coming from Jim Ross and the gang. Incredible players on the albums. Before we say goodbye, Ed, Jim Ross, right? Just what can you say about that guy?
Professional. Some of the stuff when we were doing the cover tunes, the Doors and all these songs that like he played all the instruments on, and I'm just like in awe because I'm like, man, I'm pretty good at a lot of I can't play drums, but I can play the keyboard and I can do a lot of back stuff that most people would not know, and I'm like, I could never do none of that shit. So yeah, he's easy to work with because when we went up there to do the the vocals with him, it was
for the Doomsilla, yeah. And you should hear the new. He started sending me. He sent me some new music the other day for Doomsilla. We're talking about doing some splits and some other material. So he's been sending me and Derek some stuff, and it's just awesome. I mean, the new stuff again is just I think he keeps me recording because there was there was a time period where I was kind of like hadn't been doing much, just working on my own stuff, and I got to give Jim Ross credit. The guy is a brilliant musician and just a hell of a dude. But Bandwhore, yeah, that was like I said, that was Bandwhore, and you'll be able to check them out there on Facebook and I believe Instagram, and you'll be hearing a lot about them, I believe. But yeah, man, we as always, shit. I was telling Ed, we had almost altogether like 4,000 downloads on the show and on all of our shows, which is crazy because we've only been around for like I think 6 or 7 months. It's episode 34, so we're starting to learn our craft, I guess you'd say. And, the early episodes, I don't even want to listen to those. I want to go back and I'm sure it's a train wreck, but we've had some great guests and we got a bunch more coming. I mean, like I said, I know the only one I can speak of now is the Snowy Shaw interview we have coming up, but whoever hasn't checked out the Kyle from X Order interview, definitely worth checking out. I think it was
absolutely,
Kyle's obviously X Order is about to release their new record and I'm sure they're going to be busy as shit. But we've had, like I said, we have you can go to find all the listing for all the episodes they're all on YouTube, actually. We just put them up there, but mostly, we're on Spotify and all that,
Apple.
Right? Well, all that good stuff. What else? Apple Podcasts, like you said.
Yep. And apparently you just started us a Twitter, so that ought to be fucking fun.
Yeah. So you can add us on Twitter. I just put a page up there. Like it's not really nothing going on there, but yeah,
Instagram's the big one.
Instagram is where you can get a hold of us and contact us or thetampamorgue at gmail.com. But definitely Instagram. Facebook. Yeah, we do Instagram live once in a while when we feel like it, for a little bit. Just matters how busy the week is and stuff. Ed's been recording a lot, so we've been kind of busy, and I've had a bunch of stuff going on with my family, just the kids and birthday parties and stuff like that they're going to. But yeah, you can check us out on all those platforms. If you could subscribe on our YouTube page, we really appreciate that. Give us a whatever rating, 5-star rating, all that good stuff. And we really do appreciate everybody who listens. We're working on a lot of stuff. We kind of heavy load episodes. We'll put out like 4 episodes in like maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we start working on future episodes. So that's why we may disappear for like 10 or 11 days or whatever. But
yeah, we try to do one in between. It's just sometimes it just doesn't line up. We're not Joe Rogan.
So. Yeah, this was kind of a, hey, let's just do it. Let's do an episode because it's hard. We don't really get the opportunity too much to sit here and just bullshit about music and stuff like that without having guests on and stuff. And we figured we'd do an episode and kind of keep everyone updated on what's going on with the Tampa Morgue. But we're keeping busy, and we appreciate y'all who check out the show. And we will be back next week sometime. Like I said, I know we got Snowy coming on. I don't have an exact day yet. Working on that now. But yeah, you can check out past episodes because if I had to recommend the top couple episodes, I mean they're all the guests have been great. I would definitely say check out the Vincent Crowley interview, the Kyle Thomas interview, Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter to me was awesome.
Morbid Saint was killer.
Morbid Saint, David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown. We talked to him for a couple hours.
All of them. Anything we did past our first couple personal shows, check them out.
Pat from Hellwitch, another one. This is so many, but there's a lot of history there. Yeah, we talk about a lot of stuff. Vincent Crowley's new album actually is also out this week, so anybody who hasn't checked that out, I think it came out 2 days ago or 3 days ago. It matters when you're hearing this. But again, we appreciate everybody, and everybody have a good week, and we will see you guys next week. And for updates, just keep in touch with the Instagram page. We'll be putting up the guests that are coming on once we get everything sealed and everything's all figured out. So, Ed, anything else?
Nope. I'm just happy to be out of the studio. So done.
There you go. There you go. Hopefully, anybody might see Ed on the road pretty soon. So, or at the Orpheum on Sunday. So,
I will definitely be there.
again, thanks everybody for listening. This is Tony and Ed from the Tampa Morgue, and we'll see you in the next show.
See ya.